At 11:30, we will begin our board briefing. Mr. Superintendent, do we have any public comments or presentations?
No, ma'am, we don't.
Okay, first up we have the, we're going to review the agenda items to give board members an opportunity to ask questions or make comments. Are there any questions or comments about the agenda? All right. Number 1.
Madam Chair,
Oh, yes, ma'am.
since it's on the actual agenda part, is there any way we can just table agenda item 4?
Okay, let's wait till we get to that one, and then we'll have that discussion. Item number 1, approval of minutes. Consideration of the approval of the minutes from the regular board meeting held on February 13th, 2023. All right, next is the consideration of recommendation for employment of personnel. Item 3, consideration of recommendation for the release of personnel. And I think we have an addendum for that one.
I'm having an addendum to
Yes.
item 2.
I'm sorry, item 2.
Yeah, as a change of status for Lakeisha Carter. Dr. Lakeisha Carter moved from interim director of assessment and accountability to director of assessment and accountability, and for Octavia Jones moved from assistant principal at Westover to school administration manager and head football coach. Interim head football coach.
Okay, we'll add that interim on there. Item 4, consideration of recommendation to approve the Dougherty County School System calendar for the 2023-2024 school year. Ms. Poole?
I was just asking if possible. We received this yesterday in committee, which was a good time, but I would like to have more time to have more discussion. We asked Mr. Smith for several questions we asked yesterday in committee meeting, and she was going to get that with us. But is this a priority, or is this something we can?
My understanding was that was the second time it was presented to the committee. Was that the first time or the second time it was presented?
I have not seen it.
I have not
seen
seen.
Okay. My understanding was that it was the second
I
time.
could have missed it
Okay,
somewhere in there. I
that's
could have
fine.
missed the meeting, but this was my first time seeing it yesterday.
Now, if you have questions, if I can answer those, would you be okay with them? If not, then we can certainly table.
I can ask the 3 that I have.
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
At this time. The concern was fall break,
Yes, ma'am.
and I know this is pre-pandemic. Nobody's seen this calendar. One question came up about, I know we gotta have our PL time, but a possible fall break could be extended. I think at one time it was Friday and Monday. This time it's Thursday, and they were concerned about if there was a possibility to move it a Monday, an extra day on that,
Yes,
or
ma'am.
give the extra day in Thanksgiving.
Yes, ma'am. Well,
It was one or the other.
yeah, well, two things with that. Before it was 2 days. It was Thursday and Friday, with Thursday being a PL day, and Friday being the off day. What we did, we extended it by a day. So now Wednesday is the PL day, and teachers are off Thursday and Friday. So we did extend it by a day versus the typical fall break. In terms of Thanksgiving break, teachers get the entire week, if I'm not mistaken. Right. 12-month employees get 3 days, and most of those who want to take additional days can take vacation on Monday and Tuesday. That's why we feel that's appropriate. But of course, if the board sees otherwise, we can certainly make the adjustments. But we think we increased fall break by a day. Yeah, most folks, I'm going to tell you, we have a lot of Auburn State alumni and friends and supporters, and we typically align our fall break with homecoming. So a lot of them want that money off to recuperate from the weekend. I tell them, if you can recuperate on Sunday, you just party too hard, so you just tone it down a little bit. So I say that jokingly, but yeah, so we did give them an extra day to rest up before the festivities. But I think that Monday is maybe a bit much. But of course, we can certainly make those adjustments. Any other? You said 3. That was 2.
I think that it was the Christmas, Thanksgiving, and although because the 12-month employees was concerned that they only had 3 days with their family members versus everybody else having 5.
But Christmas Day, everybody gets at least 2 solid weeks off, I think.
The Christmas break was one of the questions they were saying from last year's calendar. They haven't seen this one.
Okay.
Those were the concerns they brought to us prior to us bringing the calendar.
No, last year it wasn't much more than 3 days. They got out mid December and
But
came
no,
back.
one day that they had, teachers was gone and they were in the building. So whatever day that was, so it could have been Thanksgiving and Christmas or one or the other.
I try my best to support our employees, and as a matter of fact, you'll see that we make our proposal for the budget, and we've been trying our best to enhance the employee experience, and because we know it's a very tight labor market, and we know that our employees make or break a school system, any organization, and so we try to do what's right by them. We do have other things that are required for us to do, and we have to be here to get those done. Again, in the private sector, in a business, you may get a day or two for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, and a day or two for Thanksgiving. We get 10 straight days off, and for those that want to take additional time, they can take vacation. 12-month employees earn vacation. Our teachers don't. They earn 3 personal days for the year. So what we've always done is for those employees who want to have more time off during Thanksgiving and during Christmas, they can take vacation, and they can have more days off. But the amount of days that we provide off, I think, are very generous and are competitive. We do have some things that are not as competitive based on some surveys, but that has nothing to do with the calendar per se. We were bringing those up to the budget for budget consideration. But with that, I hope that answers your questions. But if you still have some concerns and want to table it, we certainly can, and we'll get some more responses to you if we need to. But those are the responses to those questions that you just posed.
Other question was, and I think Ms. Hurley was about to try to explain to us yesterday, but we ran out of time, who's actually on the committee, and if there's any way that information can be sent out to the staff, because they did, and I think she said it was a long process. I don't believe that staff understand the process in which we go through to develop the calendar. It's not a bunch of you sitting at a table putting days together. If they understood the process, I think a lot of the questions that we received would not have been, because they could know what the process is.
Right. Yeah. We have a committee that's comprised of our folks in academic affairs, chaired by Ms. Smith, since it's really driven by the school requirements in the 180 days of instruction. Folks from our human resources, business office, and the schools. They all have input. Now, do we send it out to everybody to get input from all of our employees? No, man, with 2,200 employees, we're never going to please everyone. We want to make sure we get a cross-section of employees that are represented, and that we have certain things we hold firm on. A full week closed for Thanksgiving, at least 3 days for 12-month employees with the option to take vacation, 10 solid work days at least for Christmas break with the option to take more for those 12-month employees if they use vacation. We increased the fall break. We heard that cry, and we increased the fall break. We think that's needed. But when you look at fall break, and then you look at a month later, you have Thanksgiving break, and you look at a month later, you have Christmas break. Those are a lot of breaks in between, so we think that those are reasonable. And we have those discussions during the committee meetings. We have made some tweaks to it, but I can certainly make public the members of the committee, and I have no problem doing that. It's certainly public information.
I'm okay with it at that point, because like I said, we hadn't seen this when I got the call.
And I apologize for that. The reason I had it on here, I must have misunderstood it. I thought it was presented earlier to the committee. This was the second presentation after we made some tweaks to it. But if this is your first time sitting at a committee meeting, if I had realized that, I would not have put it on the agenda for action prior to going to the committee. So I apologize for that piece. And again, if the board wants to take it off and table it, we certainly can. If they want to act on it, if I've answered your question satisfactorily, then we can keep it on. It's up to the board.
And I'm fine with my questions. I would relay this out to the calls that I received, and explain the process. And again, we appreciate you guys hard work.
And again, if anybody wants to serve on the committee, send me an email, copy Ms. LaWanda Johnson, and we'll have them serve on the committee.
Man, 'cause I feel like
Are we going to get the 24-25 calendar?
you're going to get that, ma'am. It's my goal for you to get that within the next 2 board meetings.
Awesome. That's super
Madam
helpful
Chair.
in planning ahead.
Fine, but
Quincy.
I would ask too about the day after New Year's. I think they had to do PLUs, and they were asking if the number of PLUs could be reduced.
Yeah, they're returning on January 2nd.
Madam Chair. The PLU requirement from the Georgia Professional Standards Commission is no longer in effect. Have been in effect in quite some time. We do professional learning, and we find opportunities when students are not in school to provide training for our teachers. Most of us face-to-face, we ensure that they're up to speed on the latest in terms of providing for our students in terms of instruction, other student support. So the professional learning days are not required like PLUs per se from PSC as they have been in the past. It's just a best practice to provide training for teachers throughout the year, and we try to implement that.
I would rather use the PLU days rather than pull teachers out of class.
Right, exactly.
That training, keep teachers in the classroom as much as possible.
And if you, I'm sure you recall, last year the board approved of the use of Mobile Mind, which is a web-based, online-based professional learning platform. So with as many of the professional development opportunities as we can, we put online so they can get those on demand during planning period, at home, on the weekend if they need, if the teacher sees a need to improve in a certain area, get to brush up on a certain area, or if we identify some areas for improvement for a teacher, we can assign them units and Mobile Mind so they can have a self-paced professional learning opportunity to address any specific needs that we identify. So we're trying to make it as convenient and as job specific as possible. But some professional development is just best delivered in person. You can model, they can work together, and those online versions, although they're good, you miss the opportunity to collaborate with your colleagues and share experiences from across schools in the district. So we do value those days, and as Mr. Youngblood said, we want to do as many of those that we think are needed for face-to-face during those PL days versus interrupting instructional time and pulling teachers from the class. Sometimes we need to do it, but when we can, we try to do the PL on days when students are not in school.
that seems to be working too, as I've heard. Madam Chair,
Yes, please.
this calendar looks rather good. There are improvements as I see, and I'm prepared to move forward with the calendar. Thank you.
Thank you.
I concur with Ms. Hutton.
I'll remain on the agenda then. Item number 5, consideration of recommendation to approve resolution between the Dougherty County Board of Education and the Albany-Dougherty Land Bank Authority. Not necessarily a question, but would you, just in layman's terms, explain land bank?
Yes, ma'am. I'll try my absolute best. It's to oversimplify this. We have several properties in the Dougherty County region that have delinquent taxes, and before an organization can buy the property and do anything with it, if it goes on the taxes, they have to pay back the delinquent taxes and things of that nature. So what this does, it allows the Land Bank Authority to extinguish those taxes, to make it easier to sell those properties, to get them redeveloped when necessary, and get them back on the tax roll to be beneficial to our community. Now that's very simple. All the whereas and therefores are included in the resolution, but I didn't want to bore everybody with reading all that. But for those that just want to know what it's about, then that's basically what it is. I know I missed a few details, but in general,
Yeah.
that's what it's about.
So the goal is just to get it sold, to make it easier for the sale and redevelopment and hopefully back on the tax roll.
Economic development, development tool,
Got it.
particularly when looking at properties that can be redeveloped or rehabilitated and be productive, instead of having eyesores throughout the community, run down properties.
Does that let the owners like off the hook essentially though?
Well, no, it doesn't let the owners off the hook. Let me see over here. It doesn't let the owners off the hook. What it does, when the owners are delinquent and the county takes ownership of it, a person who is acquiring it doesn't have to pay the back taxes from
Gotcha.
the previous owner.
Gotcha.
I think that's right. For the most part.
Basically, if I had a piece of property and it was, I didn't pay my taxes on it, and then it was foreclosed on by the city because the tax lien's on it, the city then owns the property.
Right.
And resell it, they try to recoup those taxes. So what we're doing as a school system is waiving our portion of those taxes that would have come to us, so they can sell it at nothing? Or we
No,
can
no,
get
sell
anything out of it?
it at the market, but then once it's rehabilitated, we begin to collect the taxes on the rehabilitated property.
Question is, what happens if Melissa buys that property? Is she paying a cost for it, or she?
Oh yeah, yes, they sell the property, right? But we just we allow them to extinguish the taxes owed to the school system on that property.
It's the total sale price of it, and we don't get any.
The land bank gets it. It's owned by the land bank, not the city. The city, the county, and the school system all extinguish their right to the back taxes.
It's the money when it's
The land bank, and it's used to do other work in that for land bank redevelopment. It's authority, so to speak. Yeah, and again, we
a local authority.
yeah, yes, ma'am, yes,
Yeah.
ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Almost want a little kickback from some of that.
Oh, shit.
sold.
Right. And again, we entered into this agreement in 2018. It's every 5 years we have to renew. So it's just asking us to renew the
For another
agreement.
5 years.
Right. And at some point, what we are going to have them do is come in and submit us a presentation on the property that's been disposed of. We can certainly do that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other questions on that item? Item number 6, consideration of recommendation to approve the purchase of office furniture for human resources. Alright. Item number 7, consideration of recommendation to approve fundraising request. Any committee reports? Report if you're ready.
Ma'am. Okay. All right, superintendent's report for February 23rd, 2023. Be a short report. I do anticipate an executive session that might be lengthy. So I'll get started. Our strategic plan update, just as a follow-up. You know, we had some discussions for a while about pay for some of our employee classifications, and for our custodians, we did an increase 2 years ago. That was in addition to the annual increase, and our goal was to get the philosophy was that nobody that works full time for the Dougherty County School System should be in poverty. So we used the federal poverty threshold for a family of 2, and as our threshold, we want to be at 115%, at least 115% above that threshold, which is still too low, but that's our minimum threshold. And so with this raise, we do it over 2 phases, and this phase will get our base pay for employees to $22,003.20, which is 115% above the poverty threshold for a family of 2. So, you know, we also, for all of our public school employee retirement employees who don't participate in teacher retirement based on state law. We increased our employer match for their supplemental retirement plan from 3% to 5% 2 years ago as well. And so this is a way we continue to invest in those employees. And we are looking at an across the board pay benefits review. We looked at our custodians during this mid-year because we had a conversation about that. We committed to doing so. But we're going to do that with all of our employees, look at ways we can increase compensation and enhance our benefit package to be more attractive to employees in a very competitive labor market right now. Also, as we invest, we talk about our teacher pipeline. We're certainly looking at our teacher pipeline and ways to enhance that and make that more robust. We also have a leadership pipeline that's very challenging to find leaders. And we do have some that we bring from outside the district. We feel it's good to grow our own. We've had discussions about our Aspiring Leaders program, our Aspiring Leaders Academy, and we've had that reinstituted for 2 years. This year we started an Aspiring Principals Academy. We identified 6 high-performing assistant principals, put them in a Principals Academy to prepare them for principalship, hopefully here in the Dougherty County School System when the opportunity presents itself. With our teacher pipeline, part of our strategy is to use our flexibility with our charter system to hire individuals who have not gone through a traditional teacher preparation program, because teacher prep programs are not, those colleges are not graduating enough teachers to fill the need across the state. So we do have the flexibility with our charter system, as a charter system, to hire employees who demonstrated content mastery by having a degree in a pure area like English. You can be an English teacher without having to be an English education major, but the pedagogy is lacking. And so they need more support in those first 3 years. As you know, during the induction phase, a survey from years ago, that I think is still relevant today, showed about 40% of the teachers who enter the profession leave within the first 3 to 5 years. And that was when we had the majority of our teachers entering the profession with training from a teacher prep program. For those that don't, I'm sure the frustrations of the first 2 or 3 years will be even higher. So what we have done is we've invested in Instruction and Coaches Academy to provide our instruction and coaches, current instruction and coaches, with best practices on supporting those induction phase teachers specifically. We also have teacher mentor training that works with teachers on to serve as mentors, to have veteran teacher serve as mentors to induction phase teachers. So when they have those challenges from day to day, they have someone they can talk to. And so these are evidence-based practices. As we've gone to the Center for Great Teachers and Leaders, and this is strong mentoring, induction, and support program for teachers. It's critical to keep them in the profession beyond that period of 5 years when they seem to depart at high numbers. So we've invested in all 4 of those, and all 4 of those are going on right now. And so we're seeing good results. We're bringing some information on those a little later. As a matter of fact, our HR office is presenting to the Georgia School Personnel Association, I think next week, is it next week, on our mentoring program. Has been recognized in the state as a model. And so we'll be presenting that to GSPR. Gasper. And so thank you, Ms. Allison and her team for that, and also for Mr. Davis and his team with the instructional support specialists who participate in this endeavor. Next, our legislative update. I'm not going to do an extensive update as I have in the past. We're going to look at 2 things. Suicide screenings for students. That bill came up last year, requiring all students beginning at age 8 to do a suicide screening. The deal is in the details as always, and so one thing that we raised concern about as this was being developed is the requirement without an opt-out from parents, and so that's been included in the proposed bill. The second thing is to ensure that the questions of the screening was age appropriate, because what we don't want is for a screener to put an idea in someone's head that was not there before. So that's still being worked out. And again, that's way above my pay grade and the pay grade of the folks in the state legislature. But we, I think the wording now is such that the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, along with the Department of Education, work together on age-appropriate screeners to do. And again, this is still being proposed, and we want to ensure that we continue to monitor that to ensure that if it is passed, and I do see a need for it to some degree, that it's a tool that can help us and not something that hinders us. I never thought I'd see where I would be supportive of a concept like this, but it's needed. Quite frankly, it's needed. Next, oh, yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Proposal is being made by whom?
Made by a legislator, Georgia legislator from North Georgia, the North Georgia area. I think I have her name in the House bill in a previous report. I didn't put all the details in this one, but I can provide that to you.
Not
Yes, ma'am.
necessary. I
Yes,
just, because I can follow up on it myself. I'm just concerned that there's sensitivity around children from other areas aside from the north of Georgia.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Questions about that? If not, state health benefit plan. I think I mentioned to you in a previous meeting that the Department of Community Health is proposing an increase in the employer match for state health benefits. 67%, and employees pay various premiums based on whether it's an employee only, employee plus child or family, and depending on whether it's a high plan or a low plan, how to deduct those things. But we match that as an employer, and the match currently is $945 per participant per month, which is a little less than $11,000 a year. What's being proposed to increase that by $635 per participant per month, for a total of $1,580 per participant per month, which means we'll be paying almost $19,000 per year per employee for those that participate on the state health benefit plan. Now, certified employees, teachers, principals, and those professionally certified employees, we get funded through QBE for our portion of their for our employer match. Those classified employees, we do not, and we have nearly 1,000 employees, classified employees, who are on the state health benefits plan, and the annualized impact for the Dougherty County school system, if this bill is to pass as it was originally presented, will be $4.7 million. In addition, that's the increase amount. That's not the total amount. That's the increase amount. So we have been having discussions with members of the state legislature, members of our local delegation, discussions with the governor's office. We had our superintendent's roundtable, and we're looking at a long-term strategy for this. But we also are looking at the state, asking the state to leverage some of the $6 billion surplus to phase this in over a longer period of time to give us time to prepare for it. Now, fortunately, the board's guidance and Ms. Hatcher's leadership, we are in a very strong position fiscally. We have a fund balance of a reserve of $38 million projected, thereabouts. So we will be able to support this if we give needed. Some smaller school systems, although the dollar amount is not the same, the percentages are the same, and they don't have the reserves that we have to support that. And some were actually saying they don't have enough meals left in there to raise to cover an increase in health costs like this. And if they don't offer health insurance, then that's certainly something that will be negatively impact their ability to attract employees. Classified employees are not required to be on state health. We're not required to offer state health to classified employees. We can opt out, but we can't have employees without having a health plan. We can't send all of them to the exchange. We can look at doing a self-insured plan or go out into the private market. And whereas we may see some financial benefit short term, long term. You still want to cover your retirees because you have to cover your retirees because once they retire, they need to have that benefit as well. And typically, the older individuals cost more on the health plan. So as we, and I'm sure I won't be here by the end, but I'm looking forward over the next decade or so as we get more employees who are older, who retire, we keep them. Then those in the industry we call those legacy costs. Our legacy costs will eventually become higher and higher. We have to support those employees as well. And so I don't think that's the right approach. We have some wrinkles that we can put in a Medicare waiver where when they hit 65, they can get on Medicare. And they come off our health plan, we pay for Medicare supplement plan, which is a much lower cost. We're looking at all those options. I still think that the best option, though, is state health benefit plan. So we're looking at some structural things that may be wrong with the state health benefit plan. I was asked to participate with some folks last week, actually this week, Monday, and I did to look at some ways that we think we can improve the state health benefit plan structurally, and so there's more to come on that. And I think phase this in over 3 years will give us time to put some of those structural things in place, and so we're certainly going to look at that. But I think we're going to get 3 years before we have to fully implement this. Hopefully, that's what we'll get.
Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Youngblood.
Dar, if I remember, we still, from our previous discussion, we still pay after they retire, but it's flow-through funds. So it really doesn't hit us on the bottom line for state health benefit plan, right?
Actually, it's paid out of TRS. They're on our books as a post-employee benefit, but TRS actually goes directly through TRS.
Flows through.
Right.
Off retirement, which would be the same if we don't go privatize.
Right. Exactly.
How we're going to sustain $4 billion plus a year.
Yeah. That's
That's only for classified. That did
certified employees
or covered in
covered under QBE.
Yeah.
That's the classified portion. Again, we have other strategies that we can put in place to mitigate that. And I've had those discussions with Ms. Hatcher. I do believe that we're going to get this phased in over multiple years and not hit us at one time, which is going to give us time to be more strategic and not as reactive to it. And I think if some of the work that we're talking about with the structural changes to TRS, not TRS.
Yeah.
Not TRS. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to cause uproar. State health benefit plan. Speaking with 3 retirees at the nothing going on with that.
Are we still 2 years away from implementation or a year away?
From this, they're recommending it for now, but I think what we're looking at is the state kicking in versus having the school systems have to kick in immediately for the classified employees to cover it out of the surplus that the state has. And so the $6 billion surplus, I think $1 billion going for tax refunds or rebates and some income tax rebates and some property tax rebates and some other things. We're asking that some of that is also used to cover this employer, what will be the employer portion of this to give us time to phase it in. So I think we're 2 to 3 years away from this.
Reflection of what's going on in the insurance marketplace. I mean, I know I've heard from people who aren't in education that they're, it's like it's going up 50.
And if you look at COVID, it had a lot to do. We had a lot of hospitalizations and things with COVID, a lot of sickness with COVID. And this is a self-insured plan. It's administered through Anthem and Blue Cross Blue Shield, but it's a self-insured plan. So the claims hit the premiums that are paid, and they've been out of whack for a while. And so they're trying to correct the ship. Part of me wishes they had done incrementally and not hit us at one time. But again, if it comes at 4.7, we'll bring you a budget that supports that, and that won't adversely impact our employees greatly. That's not the case in all school systems. So when we advocate for all school systems, and of course we benefit from that as well. But regardless of what happens with the legislation, we're prepared to provide state health benefits to our employees with no anticipation of having that stop anytime soon, unless we come up with a better plan somewhere else. But I don't think right now that doesn't exist for us right now.
Property valuation, what would be the 3 years?
And other bill I mentioned before that could be impactful, I think is good, but it have a financial impact to the school system. Is that there's a bill being proposed that would allow the school employee retirement system employees, our custodians, bus drivers, school nutrition workers, other facilities workers who are not in management, to opt into teacher retirement versus public school employee retirement. The public school employee retirement provides for $16 per month for every year of credible service that you put into PSERS once you hit the age of 65. So if you work 10 years and you turn 65, you can retire with $160 a monthly benefit. 20 years, you can retire with a $320 monthly benefit. That's not a lot for somebody who put 30 years in, 20 years into to a system. Conversely, if you work as a TRS employee and you put in 20 years and you retire at age 60, and you had 20 years and your average pay was 14, but what 20? Just say $30,000. Then you'll get 60% of that, 40% of that in 20 years, and so it's a lot better. This, quite frankly, wouldn't pick up the state health benefit costs for retirees. The reason it's at age 65 is the required age, because then they can qualify for Medicare. You have some employees working much longer than 65 because they can't afford to retire on PSERs. So I think this is a bill that is positive. The impact for the school system is twofold. One, we don't contribute to PSERS for employees right now. We do contribute 5% of their salaries to the supplemental retirement plan. With this, if every employee, again, employees have the opportunity to opt in. So if every employee opted into the teacher retirement system, the impact for this year would be $1.6 million. That would be for every employee opting in. We really don't anticipate every employee would opt in. They would have to match, instead of paying $10 a month now, they would have to pay 6% of their salary to participate in teacher retirement. And some probably won't do that. I would encourage them to if they could, because the benefit long term would be better. And then for those that are age 60 and don't want to work to age 70, you have to have at least 10 years in to invest in teacher retirement to benefit from the system. So for those that are close to leaving and they're not going to get 10 years in, it wouldn't make sense for them to opt in. So we will have that education in this passage. We will have those education sessions, and then run scenarios on if you retire at this age of these many years of service. This is what you would get on PSERS versus TRS. So that's a long way to come. This bill is at least 2 years away because it's a fiscal bill, and it takes 1 year for study and the number of crunches to run the numbers, and then another year for action. So we are away from this, at least 2 years, I think. So, but just to keep you abreast of what's going on, those are the three bills that I wanted to highlight for this report. And do you have any questions, Madam Chair, on any of these? I said a short report, but I apologize. It got a little long with the explanation. We talked about the winners for the Reed Bowl. At the time, we had not announced any. The state awards had not been announced. I'm proud to say that the first grade team at Raven Springs Elementary School is the Georgia State champion for Reed Bowl for first graders. So we are really proud of them. Our Flex, our foundational leadership and entrepreneurial experience we talked about before. The Shark Tank, the finals will be announced today at 1:30, and then they'll go into a competition. I think on the 1st of March, they'll have the final competition, and then the winners will be announced then. So we're excited about that. That's all I have right now, Madam Chairman. Is there any questions or comments?
Anticipate action after our executive
No,
session?
ma'am, I don't.
Since it is now past 12 o'clock, we will call call our regular board meeting to order. Everyone stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Okay. Got it. All right, thank you all for being here at our mid-month board meeting. Do we have any public comments or presentations? No. All right. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
Madam Chair, Geraldine Headley, I move that the agenda be adopted.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The motion passes. Can I get, are there any changes to the minutes from our February 13th meeting? If not? Great.
Other seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The motion passes. At this point, we can, I'll entertain a motion to approve a consent agenda items 2 through 7 with the exclusion of item number 5. We're gonna pull that one out and vote on it separately.
So move.
Second, Poole.
All right, all in favor of items 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 All right, the motion passes. So let's pull out item number 5 and we'll ask for a motion to adopt that item.
Second, Poole.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that item is adopted. Okay, at this time we do have a executive session. We do
Madam
not
Ch-
anticipate there being any votes or any business after that. So at this time, can I get a motion to go into executive session for personnel, property, and student matters?
So move.
Second. I did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'm sorry, we're gonna add litigation to that. So it will be for personnel, property, student matters, and litigation. Okay. At this time, welcome back. This moment, our meeting is concluded with a motion to, whoa.
The Lynx Club of Albany recognized Ms. Hutley, myself, and Norma Heath on Tuesday night. Some of the questions they had, Ms. Heath did invite them to our meeting. Their topics was mental health, early literacy, and women rights. So we shared with them what we're doing with the early literacy components and mental health components. And they had some questions, so Ms. Gaines will be getting with the superintendent to answer some of those questions for safety. But I just want to let the group know we were honored as the local. They honored the state local female on their call the other night for serving the community. So those are the three things, and we'll begin with you guys to get some of those questions answered to get back. But they were invited, and we'll continue to invite other community members out to our board members so they can be informed. It was part of their Black History program.
Great, thank you for sharing that. Any other business? Questions,
Madam
comments,
Chair.
concerns? Reverend Bush?
No, ma'am, I don't have anything.
Oh, Ms. Heath. Ms. Gaines. Ms. Heath.
Yes,
Gaines.
hi. I just wanted to mention to the board and the superintendent, I was on Facebook and I just wanted to acknowledge a gesture on behalf of the Live Oak faculty and staff for doing a drive-through visit with Ms. Brown in the loss of her son, KJ. And I just thought it was so touching and so moving that we do have a district who cares about each other. And so during the loss of her son, they did a drive-by to express their sympathy and condolences to her and the family.